at the same time, you get these people that they don't understand the part about taking profits. And so you get all these people that rush in and buy, and then they never sell. There's still people that hold AMC that, they bought it 4, 7, 9, 20, 70. I don't know what their average is.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So welcome back to the SimCast. We've got another special guest today. Ricky Analog is with us. Welcome, Ricky, man. Glad to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, glad to have you. And we've got Sam here. Sam's going to kind of be a sidekick for us today. Welcome, Sam, from the UK. Turbo.
Cool. Thank you, John.
Yeah, good to have you too, man. So, Ricky, let's get started with. I thought we kind of might break the ice a little bit here. I'm wondering, is Ricky Analog your name, or is that kind of an keeping you anonymous there?
I mean, I have two first names. Like Ricky is one of them. Okay. And the whole Ricky Analog thing was, back when I was creating an online persona. It's kind of like a play on Bobby Digital from the Wu-Tang Clan. So it was like,
okay.
And it's funny because obviously when I created my Twitter page a long time ago, I had no idea I was going to end up doing SEC filing type stuff and have some stupid YouTube series about dig, right? And I was like, man, I should have been Ricky Digital. And like, I think at one point I tried to change it for like a day or something. And I caught a lot of flack for it from friends. And so
just kind of stuck, huh?
Nowadays, I just say that I'm saving Ricky Digital for my son.
Okay, got you. I got another question for you because you've got looks like you got the Mario Brothers mushroom as your Twitter picture. Are you like a big Mario's fan or?
Yeah, I mean, obviously love Mario, and that goes back to back when I had a business with a business partner. He's kind of like the Mario character, and I'm more like the Luigi. I'm like the taller, skinnier.
Okay, gotcha.
But the mushroom was more of like it represents leveling up. And I just always thought that was kind of a good thing to strive for, whether or not, no matter where you're at in your career, just like constant progress.
That's cool. I do have a very serious question though for you.
Okay.
Since you're a Mario's fan, what is Mario's favorite kind of pants?
Overalls?
Denim.
It's a dad joke. I got it. All right.
All right, man.
What's funny is I actually have
I had to.
Sorry to go off camera. I bought these. These are like little Wi-Fi controllers.
Yeah.
And so my kids, I let them play new age games, and I was like, man, your games suck compared to the games we grew up on, right? And so then one of my kids is like, Dad, show me your games. And so we watched some YouTube videos, and they're like, oh, I want to play those. So got the emulators, got the little wireless controllers, and now they just mash out to Mike Tyson's Punch Out or Excite Bike and all those things. So it's pretty cool.
Man, that's cool.
That's really cool. Yeah. So, all right, man, well, let's jump into it. So I for those who may not know who you are, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, like how you got started in trading, all that good stuff.
Yeah, just I guess I don't need to talk about my age. I'm getting older now, but I've been trading for 8 years. I started trading during the first pot stock boom. I think that was 2013. It was either 13, the end of 13 or 14. I know it's been about 8 years. And I taught myself back then. I read a lot of books on stocks, and mostly what I was reading were things that had to do with investing. So the first stock,
you mind me asking who some of your influences were back then?
I read The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham, and I was like, oh, this makes sense to me, and I like this. And I bought Amazon, and it went up I think I bought it at 285, and it went to 315, and I sold it, and I was like, yeah, I got this. And then found Twitter, FinTwit, and realized there's all kinds of people on there that will promote their book, and people pumping whatever hot stock there is of the day. So that's how I found all the pot stocks, and I pretty much bought the top on all of them. And took my personal account, my business partner's account, and we had a joint account. All three accounts pretty much demolished within a few months. So it was like, I'm the kind of person where like when I find something that is tough or, you know, knocks me on my ass, like I don't give up. I'd rather figure the puzzle out. So that was where that came in. You know, realized there's a lot more to the market than just following people's alerts on Twitter. And so I started, you know, learning more and more and more. Got to a point where I thought I was pretty good. I actually, you know, kind of learned how to short stocks because I realized everything that I bought always went down. But I was missing one major cornerstone to successful trading at the time. And that was like a good foundation of risk management. And so I had one more really hard lesson to learn. I didn't blow up my account, but it was enough of a loss to sting and stick with me. And so realized that there was something missing, found some good mentors, learned really good, strong risk management, and the rest has been history ever since.
Cool. Yeah. I'm curious, like how long did it take you to kind of climb out of that hole? You remember?
Well, what's funny is like, I actually had somebody back then tell me like, you're not climbing out of a hole. This is just where you're starting from. Like, because, and that's a mentality I think I try to teach a lot of traders these days too, is that you don't make a loss back. That money's gone. You just make new money. You stack your wins, you put together your process and you keep your head down, you grind it out, and you look up and you see that the process is working, but you don't make that money back. That money's gone. A good friend of mine actually put it in a very good analogy, which was, if you're sitting at a poker table and you lose a bunch of your chips to some guy in a hand, the very next hand, you might be trying to win that hand, but that guy might not even be in the hand. Those chips are gone. You're not trying to win those chips back. You're trying to win this hand. And so I've kind of always tried to keep that concept in the back of my head. But in terms of, you know, getting back to where I'd been prior to that big loss, it didn't take all that long because, you know, I was doing well. I just was missing that risk management. So once I kind of implemented some of those things that I was learning about controlling my risk and being more responsible, my process was already pretty good. So it allowed me to kind of get back to where I was. I think it took about 3 months. And, you know, after that, it was like, all right, we're never going to go back down that dark alley. Now, it doesn't mean I don't take losses. I take a lot of losses.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
You know, I take my share of big ones too, but the big ones are on trades where the risk was justified, as opposed to like, you know, taking a big loss on something that you completely regret later on.
Now, was this risk management that came to you, was that, I mean, how did you discover that? I mean, was that something that you learned through, you know, some of your mentors at that
Yeah,
time?
I had a mentor that taught me a lot about it and pointed me also in the right direction, as well as other, obviously, like Van Tharp is like the god of risk management and position sizing. But I've never met him. I wish I could have a talk with him, but he's written extensively about the topic. There's tons of videos about it. And that was like kind of where I gravitated towards.
Okay. And is that something, because I'm not super familiar with Van Tharp, but was it something as far as like risk management goes, was it more like position sizing? Was that what led you to de-dig, or was it more like technical analysis? Like, if I enter the trade here, I can risk against this level, or was it more like fundamentals? Like, I think this thing's going to go down, so I feel safer maybe adding on the way up or something like that.
It was all technicals. And I kind of always stick to this way of looking at things. And that is like, I get conviction from fundamentals and like SEC filings. So I may go a little heavier on a trade because the thesis from the fundamentals gives me the conviction that it's more of an A+ setup, okay, but it's always going to fall back on the technicals, right? So the number one book I would recommend to anybody that wants to kind of like look into Van Tharp was I think it's called The Definitive Guide to Position Sizing. And you know, it's very systematic, and a lot of it has to do with your account size. And, you know, obviously a lot of it really centers around learning how to know where you're wrong on a chart, right? So like if you have a thesis, it's based on technicals, and this is just for sake of simplicity, like we're buying a dip in an uptrend, right? So the thesis is that the uptrend's going to continue. So where are you wrong? Well, if you buy a dip, then it's no longer in an uptrend if it breaks the previous low, right? If we make a lower low, now there are a lot of nuances to that, and there's a lot of different traders that'll see a chart differently, but the basic concepts are there, that you have to be able to look at a chart and go, here's my thesis and here's where I'm wrong. And when you know where you're wrong, from that, you can extrapolate your position size based on how much you're willing to lose if you're wrong. And notice the concept there's risk first, right? We're not looking at reward. We're looking at how much we're going to lose if we're wrong. Too many traders do it, they're like, oh man, I want to buy like as many shares of this stock as I can, because if it goes here, I'm going to be like shopping for islands. And it's like, yeah, but if it goes here, you're going to be trying to start a GoFundMe.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of like the first box you check then, is like, where am I risking to? And I'm assuming that that's part of your trade plan. So you've got these, I really like what you said there, that the fundamentals and all the digging that you do in these stocks on like the SEC filings, potential for offerings or, dilution and things like that, gives you some conviction that a trade is maybe incoming.
Yeah.
But then you want to see your setup, your A+, your pattern, something like that on the chart. And then that gives you the ability to say, my trade plan says X amount of risk right here, and I think this thing's coming back down to X amount of reward or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like technically, so for me personally, I am, when it comes to small caps, I do lean towards the short bias, right? It doesn't mean you can't have great long setups on these names. But for me personally, especially since I spend so much time reading filings, I'm very, cynical, because I see all the dumb stuff that happens behind the scenes. And so, and it to me, it's easier to see something and go, that's overextended, and we can create a trade thesis about that, versus looking at something and going, this is building a base, maybe it's going to break out here. That's, to me, is more of a coin flip. Now, obviously, if it starts to go and the volume comes in, you can be early on those things, but it's way easier for me to just like look at everything that's, gapping up 50% in the morning and go, okay, let's check out some filings. Let's see what's pushing in the levels of resistance. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but it's easier to identify targets for me on the short side. That's kind of why I've always gravitated towards those.
Gotcha. Now,
so is that, sorry, John. So is that pretty much your morning routine then for the small caps? You'll look at those big gappers and then go check their filings and then perhaps come up with a thesis?
Yeah. So basically, I have two types of research I'll do on a stock. I will do a quick and dirty once over in the morning. And, I don't have the luxury of hours to read through the filings. Sometimes they can be pretty in depth, right? But I am very good at doing a quick 10-minute dig and finding what I need to find to create a trade thesis. And then, if the stock doesn't die that day and it's gapping up, or it looks like it's set to gap up the next day, I'll do a full dig on it that night, right? So when I come to the market the next morning, you get that second day continuation play. I'll have, every little nuance of that company, I'll know it. But again, I actually trade a lot of large caps. So like, and one of the cool things I think a lot of people probably take for granted is that, like, if you only trade small caps, when the small caps suck, what do? You just sit on your, or if you're smart, you sit on your hands. But if you're a numbskull, you freaking trade them anyway, and you paper cut yourself to death. I trade large caps extensively. So like, trading large caps as much as I do gives me the ability to ignore all the small caps until something A+ comes along.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I mean, on that topic, would you, Sam, you may have known more about this than I did, because I didn't actually trade CEI, but I'm kind of curious about like maybe some recent trades that you have taken and were kind of outspoken about in the market and on Twitter. Was CEI one of those trades that you've taken? Would you consider that kind of like an A+ setup that you were just stalking for some time, or like how did you do on that if you took it?
So CEI, me and CEI go way back. In fact, 2019 at Traders for a Cause, that was like the topic of my speech.
Okay.
So I know their whole backstory, and a lot of it never changes. And in fact, 5, 6, 7 months ago, I don't really remember how long ago, I posted some tweets on Twitter that were alluding to the fact that, like, I wouldn't name the stock, right? But I was like, I caught up on the filings, and I see like there's some things in the works, and like I know what's coming. So like, I was kind of like polishing my hammer. And I kept staying with it. And as embarrassing as it is, I was long CEI. I think I had like an 88-cent average. And
really?
a good friend of mine, he knew about it. And like it wasn't a large enough position for me to really care about, but I knew eventually they're going to run the thing. And he hits me up one day, and he goes, it was after hours. He's like, Ricky, what are you going to do about that CEI position? And I had like a few glasses of wine, and it's 2 minutes before the after hours close. And I was like, come over to my desk, still have my DOS open, pull up the chart, and it was like 36 cents or something in the after hours. And I was like, and I just, maybe it was the liquid courage or whatever, but I like tripled up my position. I had a 50-something cent average. And I told him, I go, dude, I just tripled up. And it never downticked another day. I swear to God, this is like, but I'm not trying to brag, because then I turned around, sold it when it pushed into like 78 cents or something. So like I made like 25 cents on a decent sized position, but because I know how scammy and nasty that company is, like there was no way I was going to ever capture that big move up. But, one of the hard things to do is like to take a big move up and be able to flip bias at the right time, right? So that you're able to capture the short as well. I think if I had rode that up to 450 or whatever it went to, like 485 or something, there's a really big chance I would have like been just mentally not prepared to flip bias on it or whatever. So that whole move from where I sold from like 78 cents all the way to 485 was me being very patient and just watching and stalking. And I had a really big trade on it on the short side too. Actually, I had a few. It gave some good opportunities. And honestly, like it's a layup trade. It's really easy. And the short is not what I'm proud of. What I'm proud of was the ability to not touch it until it was finally ready. I didn't short it once, that whole front side.
Mind if we pull the chart up here? Can I pull the chart up while you're talking?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool, man.
And just on that, Ricky, did you, on the day that it did hit 485, had you dabbled before that, or were you literally waiting for a massive crack?
I had not touched it. And I put it on Twitter. I like put one of those, I don't even know what you call them, like a voice note, like a voice comment. I put a voice comment out, and I literally told people, I go, look, it's not ready yet. And it goes back to the fundamentals of it, right? The filings, if you understand what's happening with CEI, it will not have the kind of price action it was having if they're dumping. And so it was very obvious, like that whole way up, I was like, hands off, nothing here. Like it literally just, there's no reason to short it. And if you look at all those days leading up, the range was not big. It wasn't trading a lot of range, right? What were you trying to short? You were trying to make 10, 15 cents. Now, granted, if you take a ton of size, they add up. You can make some money, but that's not where the big money's at. So it's kind of telling people like hands off. And what I said was, when the time is right, it will be extremely obvious, extremely obvious. And I mean, so if you look, you see the scroll back a day right there where the big crack happened, right? Yeah. Yeah. So I was on the golf course, and actually it was funny. I had a lot of friends texting me. So I wasn't part of that one at all. But it was after that, after that, it was completely obvious that now the game has changed. People wanted to blame, it was pointing fingers. It's those shorts and the whatever. Like, dude, okay, yes, it's the shorts' fault, except for the fact that like in the 2 months leading up to that, the OS doubled, right? More than doubled. So how is that the shorts' fault? The OS isn't doubling because of us. It's doubling because of the fundamentals, the filings telling you there's dilution happening, and the rest is history. It's like, but everybody needs a scapegoat. Everybody wants a villain. Nobody wants to take personal accountability.
Yeah. And just to clarify, we're talking about like outstanding shares there as far as OS, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious then, if you missed this day here, is this something like your A+ setup that you like to play? Like, is it maybe like a take on like a head and shoulders pattern or something like that? Or it was looking for that backside?
A lot of it has to do with knowing that there's a lot of people still stuck up there. So because that crack happened really fast. And if you notice the next day when it pushed up there, it couldn't really push. There's just too many people selling because they're stuck. And I'm telling you right now, you can't really prove that all the dumping took place after that big crack. But that's my thesis, right? Like, because you only have the last 8K was in like, I think July or something, that pointed out what the current OS was. And then they released one, I think it was on October 8th, maybe, or something like that updated it. And so there's like a 3-month gap or 4-month gap. Forgive my terrible
because that was interesting, because when they updated with that 8K, the headlines were, because the last sentence said, "We will not do a reverse split." And I think everyone just got crazily excited again. Obviously, those who were pumping it, they ignored, I don't know, 6 or 7 lines and just focused on that last sentence.
Well,
and
there's still more bullish. I mean, there was more than just that could be interpreted as bullish, even though to me it's not. And that would have been the fact that their authorized share count was maxed out, right? So they had a max AS of 250 million, and in that same 8K they say, like the OS is now 249,500,000, right? So like the most they could dump is like another 500,000 shares. So pretty much it's basically saying like, even though they would love to dump more, they can't. So it's like a handcuff. And we've seen that with them before, because back when their AS was 25 million, like almost immediately after they did their last reverse split, people did the same thing. They're like, they can't dump. So people thought like every time it popped, no one wanted to short it. They were like, well, they can't dump into this. They can't dump into this. And like, it still offered great short opportunities because it's just such a bag holder stock, right?
And there's probably plenty of overhead supply with people just selling into that strength.
Yeah.
And shorting into it as well. Cool. Yeah. So I'm curious, like where exactly would you have entered on this, or did you enter on that?
So I entered the next day on the push after the big crack. And I had a swing, and I added pretty much every day on pops. And you see on, what was the 5th? I think it's showing on there when we got that big crack. That was where I covered everything, was down in, I think my lowest cover was like 97 cents or something.
Okay. So would you say like maybe these circles kind of represent your selling spots there?
Yeah. Yeah. And actually right where you put that last circle, I remember adding pretty good right there, because it was just a definitive line in the sand, right? Like you can see, draw a line straight across the bottom there. That was the break that really sent it. And, it's funny because I was happy it went under $1. And the only reason I was really happy it went under $1 is because on that stupid voice memo I left, I said something. I was like, trust me, this will be under $1 in the near future. And obviously I can say that, but people could interpret that as financial advice, and I'm not a licensed financial advisor. And so like my good friend Goose, who used to be a market maker, and he knows all the fine print, right? He's like, hey, Ricky, you got to be careful when you make statements like that. You can't say shit like that. And I was like, oh, you're right. And then I went under $1 and I was like, yes, I'm absolved.
Oh, that's crazy, man. I mean, fantastic trade. And it definitely did. It looks like just the next day it came down and dipped down below that $1, didn't it?
Yeah.
Cool. Good stuff, man. So what's this, Sam? Because I'd like to, kind of segue this into, you seem to be a champion for traders, retail traders and just making wise decisions and things like that. Because I think it sounds like it was kind of important for you to find those mentors when you were, coming up through the ranks, so to speak. But Sam, it sounds like you kind of stumbled upon some kind of chat or tweet.
Yeah.
What was going on there with that?
Yeah. So bizarrely, I'd never seen this before, but I think Twitter introduced a new feature, which was technically a room that people could join and then they could speak. And I just suddenly saw on the top of my phone, Ricky Analog has joined, and I thought, I like Ricky. This will be interesting. I think it's gonna be a nice speech, and he's gonna tell us all what CEI and what it's about. But anyway, somehow we entered into some CEI cult, and they were there telling everyone that CEI is back, and this is after the big crack. I think it was the day before that it cracked the 280 and then really died. And they were all saying, yeah, it's back. And I remember Ricky very politely said, do you mind if I say something? And he started talking, and we just joined such a cult that they just weren't interested. And the theme was obvious. It just, if it was, they just claimed that if it wasn't for that short report, that it wouldn't have died. And then I think Ricky was very politely trying to say, actually, it kind of just told the truth.
Yeah. What was going on there?
Those are called Twitter Spaces, and I listen to them when I see something interesting, like a topic that seems interesting. And so far, I've yet to find a single one where it's not like what we experienced. Right? It's always cult. It's always, and to be honest with you, the reason I joined that one was because I saw Mark Cahodes in there. He's like a big time, pretty well known, famous short seller. Famously took down Memetics, and I was like, oh, why is he in here? So I wanted to go in there, right? And it was something about AMC. And the thing is AMC is a complete cult. And he has kind of tried to take up their cause, which is, pushing back against the big institutions from back when they pulled the plug on the ability to buy AMC, or maybe it was just GME. But remember back when Robinhood made it so you couldn't buy GameStop and you could only sell. And so I agree with him. That's effing criminal. You can't do that. You change the rules to the game because you didn't like what was happening. That's how it felt, at least. So I agree with Mark on that concept. But then when I went into that room, it switched to CEI, and they're like, yeah. And then this Carisdale comes out, and Mark has a bone to pick with what he calls smash and grab, which is you put out a short report, you're already short. When the short report comes out, you cover into the wash, and then you're gone. You cost a bunch of investors money. Now, I agree that happens a lot. There's a lot of these silly short reports that come out, and they're trash. But the one on CEI, I was like, dude, no, don't lump this in with those, because you guys can argue about Carisdale all you want. You could hate the guys at Carisdale. You could think that all of their research is complete shit. Doesn't matter. It doesn't change the fact that the CEI story was written in stone the second that move started. And literally the report was factual, just like Sam was pointing out, right? They didn't make stuff up. They're talking about the dilution, which was the Series C convertibles, which, they're just and people were like, well, what? It's not really about the short report. It's about their timing. They put it out when it's way up at the highs. No shit, Sherlock. Why would they put it out? That would make no sense to put it out when this thing's trading at 70 cents. It's just I guess it's a lot like how I feel when I see stuff run up, and I feel obligated to point out the red flags in that name. And I might be short the name, But a lot of times it's more about like, dude, you guys are chasing these stories that these pumpers concoct, right? And that's kind of what upsets me, is that they push these narratives that I don't have a problem going, look, the technicals look great, this thing could go a lot higher. But the second you start trying to be like, oh, carbon capture is going to change the world, and CEI is a different company this time, and and like, so the day before that Twitter Spaces, I was maybe it was not the day before, it was the day it cracked, and I was on the golf course. Remember, I was on the golf course checking my phone. I saw Twitter Spaces, and it was Carousdale doing Twitter Spaces about their short report, and everybody coming in and like having a discussion. But some of the pumpers were in there, and they were like attacking them. And they're trying to, their case that they were making was, you say that we're pumping, but what you're doing is no different. And I didn't log into that one and raise my hand, but I kind of wanted to, because yeah, it is a little different. Because the whole time the stock was going up, you had people going, if you can't hold for 5, you're not invited to Miami. Like, what, dude? Like, that's different. That's way effing different. That's like dangling a carrot and constantly moving it, because it was 3, then 5, then 10. And obviously, like, when it gets crushed by a short report, you sit there and go, well, you guys are the idiots for not taking profits. It's like, well, you were also pumping it the whole way up, saying like, we're going to Miami, only the people that hold are invited, stuff like that. And it's like, I mean, again, there's been pumpers since the beginning of the markets. It will never change. You can, and the same way people get upset about the algorithms that will kind of rig price action, or shorts that will put out short reports. This is the game we play. You can point fingers and cry and complain all you want, or you can friggin' learn how to make money from it. But you can't do both, right? You can't bitch and complain that like the pumpers are the reason I got blown out of my shorts position and make money. No, you got to learn how to use it to your benefit. Like, and I say that all the time, like, dude, we need the pumpers. CEI is not going to 485 if we don't got somebody pumping, right?
Yeah. And the other thing with CEI as well, like, people complaining about the shorts, but they weren't complaining about the shorts getting their asses smacked on the way up, which inevitably was happening. And I doubt it would have reached that price if you couldn't short it, for example.
Yeah, one of the things they've been annoying as hell with lately is this whole, they're like, oh, these shorts are so negative, keep these negative people out of your life. I only surround myself with positive people. And then but then they're like, haha, shorts, how's that feel? Like, it's like, dude, they're so negative and they don't even notice it, right? Like, I agree, keep positive people in your life, surround yourself with positive people, but like, don't talk it and then not walk it.
Do you think this is something like, do you think the game has changed since like COVID has started? I mean, I know like you can go back and you can read Jesse Livermore from the early 1900s, and there was pumping going on, right? But do you think the game has changed like since March of 2020, and you've got such an influx of retail traders coming in, and I don't know what you would call this, Ricky, but maybe it's like social arbitrage or something like that, where like people just kind of like follow these cult leaders. And when I say cult leaders, I mean like, the guys who are really doing the pumping, and they've got, lots of followers, and no doubt they're probably like doing some kind of diligence on these companies, and they truly believe in it. I have no doubt that many of them are probably sincere. But has the game changed, and how should we adapt to that? And then on top of that, how do you remain responsible, trade responsibly in that environment?
Well, it has changed in terms of liquidity, in terms of the moves and the range we've seen, in terms of the way some of these trash companies can get these really crazy valuations and not come back down, right? Like in 2020, we saw stocks that would just go to the moon, and a lot of them are still up there. And they don't deserve to be, but it's just what it is. As long as you understand technicals and how to like manage risk, you will always be okay. Now, there are some other things I've noticed that have happened, and it's not necessarily market centric, but it's just in general about society. And that is, there has been this shift, especially in the younger generation. And I know like older generations will probably be like, nah, you kids were just like that. And it's like, no, we weren't, not quite. We weren't as bad as these kids are. And that is, they literally would prefer a stock tip to learning how to trade. And it's funny because I was pointed this out by my business partner, maybe a year ago, pointed this out to me. We used to do online retail. So we would do retail arbitrage a lot, right? So there was Discord groups started around that, just like there's Discord rooms for trading. And there's some guy who had a Discord room, or maybe like, I think he had a few, and he had thousands of members, all paying $100 a month to be a part of these Discord groups where they would get tips on products to buy for flips, right? Like retail arbitrage. And he was like, he looked up to my business partner. My business partner has built up like a pretty big social media brand. And so this guy looked up to my business partner, and he reached out to him, and he told him, come over and check out these Discord rooms. And so he comes in, and first of all, my business partner was blown away by the amount of income you can make by just having a Discord room, right? This guy's generating hundreds of thousands of dollars a month pretty passively, very, very simply. He pays some mods to post a few times a day, and it's really hands off for him. Well, my business partner goes in there, and he's from the same kind of background upbringing as me, and we're hard workers. We like to learn. And so he sees people talking about something, and he goes, oh, I bet they don't know about this. And he like starts offering them some advice on how they could save money with structuring a business this way, or doing this or doing that. And he got like this cold shoulder from all these people. And this guy that brought him into the room, he like pulls him aside, like, I guess the digital equivalent of pulling someone aside, right? I guess DMs him. He's like, yo, man, these people don't want to learn how to do this. They just want to be handed a fish.
Yeah.
And he was like, what? And he was like blown away by it. He's like, that's just the way it is. This younger generation, they would much rather just follow advice from somebody, buy this here, sell this here, then learn how to actually trade. And that, in my opinion, creates a lot of what we see in the market, right? Like, and at the same time, you get these people that they don't understand the part about taking profits. And so you get all these people that rush in and buy, and then they never sell. There's still people that hold AMC that, they bought it 4, 7, 9, 20, 70. I don't know what their average is. The thing's trading at, I don't know what it's trading at now, $38 or something. But they're probably, a lot of them are probably upside down in this, and they're going, well, we're waiting for Citadel to get taken to court and have to pay out from a judgment, right? Because no one ever taught them how to sell. They just told them, buy this, it's going to the moon. And, the pump rooms have benefited from this. You got to, some of these rooms, and I'm not saying that they're benefiting because they charge money. A lot of them are free rooms. You get 50,000 people in a room, and everybody buys a few hundred shares of something. Guess what? That creates a lot of volume.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing I think recently is there seems to be a narrative that it's like, I don't know, it's weird. It's almost like paid rooms versus free rooms, and it's those short rooms versus us long rooms, and it's almost like, I don't know, it just feels like there's this constant war going on. I don't know if maybe it's always been like that, but it just feels like, I don't know, it's almost like they generate an enemy, and it's like, we got to take down the enemy, we got to take down the shorts, hold your positions, etc. And quite frankly, it's crazy. Like some of these guys, like you said, if they did buy AMC at $4 and they got a reasonable position, geez, they could probably buy a house if they sold somewhere near the top, or whatever. They could buy anything. We could probably buy, I don't know, 2 houses.
Like we literally, during that time, the the term hodl was coined, right? Like Bitcoin and cryptos, like cemented that concept in people's heads. And, you know, until they're wrong, they're right. Like, dude, Bitcoin just made all-time highs. And like people that told them when it went to 20,000 in 2018 that these guys are morons for not selling, you know, they wrote it all the way back down to 3,500 or wherever the hell it went. And now it's all the way back at 65K or whatever, right? So in their minds, they're right. And, you know, until they're wrong, they kind of are.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, how do you feel about the current state of chat wars? Is that something that has evolved since you've gotten started in this business?
It's actually funny. Like I'm friends with everybody in the community, and I, you know, across rooms, right? So like I know all the guys in all the other rooms, and I don't hate on any room at all. Like I really don't. And in fact, I've reached out to some other ones. So I'm at TrueTrader.net. For anybody that didn't know that, but it's another room. We have a strategy. We focus mostly on large caps, but I definitely trade my small caps over there too as well. And you know, I've reached out to other traders that run other rooms and been like, yo, you want to like, because we live stream every morning for the opening hour. So we'll, you know, you'll see the charts we're looking at, we're calling our trades and everything, explaining what we're seeing. And I'm always like, yo, you guys, would you like to come over to our room for a live stream in the morning? You know, you come on, and if you want to, because a lot of the people I reach out to have expertise in areas that we don't, right? Like I'm not a big options trader, but I've reached out to like some of the options guys I know and like, hey, you want to come call out trades for the opening hour in our room, and then I'll come over to your room for an hour one morning, right? And we'll, you know, everybody benefits. So like I'm actually in the middle of trying to tear those dumb walls down, because it makes what we do feel like we operate in high school. And dude, everybody can learn from everybody, right?
Well, this is something that you recently spoke about at Traders for a Cause, right? Is like the value of mentorship, and you know, it's like, you know, don't have just one, you know, get all you can from this guy or this gal, and then, you know, have more, you know, it's all like that collective effort.
Yeah, there's so many ways to make money in the market. The worst thing you can do is think that your way is the right way and everyone else is wrong. So it's, for me, I'm like always trying to see what other people see, even if I don't trade it that way. I still want to know what is it that they're looking for, so that I at least keep myself from getting blindsided. And I've had many mentors, and you know, I'll probably have many more. And you know, I try to mentor other people as well, and try to, you know, I never tell somebody like the way I do it is the right way and the way so-and-so does it is the wrong way. It's quite the opposite. I'm like, dude, here's how I see stuff. Here's the way I'm reading this. You should also talk to this person because they have great insights into this or whatever. But yeah, 100%. Like you should always be trying to progress.
No, I'll attest to that, because I sent you a chart on Twitter with one of my trades, and it wasn't particularly great, but you were very polite about it. And yeah, you're clearly one of the good guys out there, because you could have told me it was absolutely rubbish. But you sort of said, look, I see what you're doing, perhaps a bit more. I can't remember what you said exactly, but it was really good feedback. So yeah, I'll attest to those comments.
Yeah. And I mean, what would you say? Because we're almost out of time here, Ricky, but what would you say then kind of differentiates you and your style of teaching, maybe your courses and your mentorship at True Trader? What do you try to kind of focus on? Is it maybe adding that element of mindset training, or what would you say differentiates yourself?
Well, True Trader, we actually have, there's, I think 6 of us over there that are like the I hate saying this, but the pros, the moderators that do the live streams and do the webinars, stuff like that. And 2 of the guys over there with me are personal mentors of mine, right? So Adriano and Goose, both of them were huge influences on my trading and my career trajectory. But, you know, we focus on what we teach over there is focusing on taking advantage of imbalances in price action. So big flushes or big emotional spikes into important levels on whether it be a daily chart or levels with confluence, like moving averages and pivots, things like that, or fib retraces, but big emotional moves that are not sustainable into those kinds of levels, and doing it's a mean reversion strategy. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't teach people how to join a trend or how to, you know, trade some options, or, you know, there's so many different angles we provide over there. But what I've always told people is, it's funny, is like, the reason that it's awesome to have so many mentors is at the end of, you can't really say end, not the end of your journey, but, you know, years and years down the road, you look back and you realize that like your style is a hybrid, right, of all the mentors you've had. So it's funny, I'm literally in there with two of my mentors and they both trade their own style. And I literally know exactly what both of them are seeing in a trade. And I still have to see it through my own lens, right? And so when I teach people, they're getting like a blend of those two guys plus many other mentors I've had. And, you know, there's other great traders in there as well, and they see things through their own lens. And yeah, it's actually, this community is probably one of the things I'm most proud of. The community has come a long way. The members in our room are amazing. They actually, when I was in Vegas for Traders for a Cause, it's unfortunate because at the same time, they all were meeting up in Georgia for a Spartan race. And, you know, we have, I don't know how many members are in our community, but 65 of them made the trip down to Georgia. And that's a long journey for people that live in California or New York or wherever, right? But people made that trip, 65 people. And, you know, they sent me all the photos and videos from this stuff. And it like brought a tear to my eye, made me very sad. I missed it. But I was just blown away by, you know, every single person has a story. Every single person, you know, is trying to better themselves. Every single person is on their own little journey, right? So like knowing that like you play even a small part in helping that person navigate the markets is a huge, it's a huge point of pride for me. So definitely, I never really even thought it would be that way, being over in a room trying to help people, but it really has. That's
super cool. And I think it's worth adding as well that you do, there's some content you put out your Sunday scan as well. I think you throw it out there Sunday afternoon for you guys. And I watch that every week, even though I don't at the moment trade many large caps, but that's something that one day I want to transition into. And that's superb content as well.
Yeah. And like that started from that room. Like I was, you know, I did that on Sundays for the room to show them how they should prepare every day. Right. And then they're like, oh, like, you know, I put one out for on Twitter. It was, you know, just try to help get some people aware of the community. And people liked it. And I was like, cool, well, we'll just keep putting them out because I do them no matter what, right? And everybody should do it. And not just on Sundays. Like it should be, you know, tonight I have to look at charts. I have to prepare for tomorrow. And as far as what you're saying about it being mostly large caps, there will be small caps on there. But like I said, because we focus on the large caps, those small caps will only end up on the Sunday prep if it's A+, like something I'm willing to stick my neck out there for, because we all know the small caps can be very dangerous. And I don't want to feel like I'm getting people in a situation where, you know, I get a DM later, like, yo, Ricky, you said this was a high conviction short. And like, I'm really upside down on this trade. And I'm like, so I try to keep those to the A++.
Got to be selective with them. Yeah. Cool, man. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And for those who don't know, we're going to put the links below in the comment section for Ricky's D-Dig YouTube series, along with, you know, and you can check his YouTube and his yeah. So if you're interested more in like how to study fundamentals, SEC filings, things like that, I mean, there really is, in my opinion, nothing better than that series you put out. How else can guys get in touch with you, Ricky?
On Twitter, it's just at Ricky Analog. On Instagram, at Ricky Analog. My phone number is no.
I wouldn't put that out there, man.
Come over to truetrader.net, and you know, there is a for anybody that doesn't understand that we have I think it's a 5-day trial for $30, and it's like you have access to the room, you can be in the live streams every morning, and you can, I mean, $30 is really just kind of just so people don't, you know, change their email address and sign up over and over and over again, right? But $30 is nothing, and you can see if it's a good fit. And if it's not, it's fine. You can come chat with me, and if you think like the style we trade is not what you like, you can tell me what you like, and I can probably point you to a different community that might be geared towards you. Because like I said, I have nothing against any of the other communities out there. We're all in this together. It's not an easy job we've all chosen to do. So we got to build each other up, man.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, good for you, man. Really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. It was
thank you, Ricky.
Talk.
Good
stuff, man. All right, man. Have a good week, brother.
Same to you guys. Take care.
See you later.